This channel supports Extra Life in its efforts to raise money for the Children's Miracle Network. For more information about how to donate and join in their efforts, go to the link displayed here. Extra Life. Play games, heal kids. What up, everybody? This is your boy Black Vegas, and I actually recorded this the other day, but I realized I never saved the audio file, so my entire 10-minute commentary has been washed away. But I wanted to talk to you guys about Google Stadia real quick. I know I'm a little late on this, but we got some significant news this past Thursday on Google Stadia, including pricing, which is interesting, and requirements. So I'm going to run through some of the things that we saw and give my opinions on it. So, of course, Google Stadia is supposed to come out this November, and it's going to come out in limited capacity. It's not going to come out worldwide, but in certain areas it's going to launch. But if you want to play it in November, you have to invest in it. And what I mean by invest in it is that you have to purchase the Founders Edition in order to use it in November. Otherwise, you have to wait till 2020 to actually play Google Stadia. So the Founders Edition, you'll get a Chromecast with it. You'll get the controller, and you'll get a copy of Destiny 2, which is going to be one of the first games to be featured on Google Stadia. Now, if you want to get the controller separate, the controller is going to be $70. So the Google controller, that's the price, which I thought was like, gee, that's kind of high considering what controllers cost. But then again, controllers are like $50-$60. So, and I believe the Nintendo Pro controller is actually $70 too. So, it fits in the right price range. It's funny because I've never bought a controller unless it was on sale. Or pro tip, you want to get a PlayStation controller if you own a PlayStation 4, go to Walmart. They're $45 regular price there. Otherwise, you're gonna pay probably $60 in most places. But yeah, thought that was kind of pricey, but it will all be worth it if the controller is actually a solid controller. So that's the thing. We don't know what type of controller it's going to be. They gave some details on the type of requirements that you're going to need. So the minimum, of course, is going to be 5 megabits per second for internet speed to use the streaming service. They recommend 10 megabits per second, and this is just to get 720p quality streaming with 60 frames per second and stereo sound. Now, they went through the scale, and once you reach in the level between anything between 15 to about 30, it looks like, megabits per second, you can get HDR video in 1080p quality with 60 frames per second and 5.1 surround sound stereo. Then once you get above the 30, which 35 is considered the best quality, 35 and above, you should be able to get 4K with HDR video, 60 frames per second, and 5.1 surround stereo. Now, whether or not this is going to be actually happening, it's probably going to be more dependent not on the fact that your internet is comparable to those stats, but is solid enough to produce the desired effect. Because let's be honest, and this is one thing that I've always said about this since it's been announced, and since, you know, even when PlayStation came with PlayStation Now, and Microsoft made mention of how they were going to utilize the cloud to supplement certain things when creating graphical environments in games. Not everybody's internet is tip-top solid. I have 150 megabits per second, and it don't feel that much quality internet, you know, through Xfinity. There's issues. I have extreme dips and lows and rough patches. It's not stable, and that's the thing. Internet connectivity is not a stable, fluid thing in the United States. You generally have to pay an exorbitant amount to get somewhat, if not stable, internet. Even if you're out there paying for Google Fiber, which isn't that expensive, I don't think, but it's only limited in certain areas. Or if you're out there getting, you know, high-end fiber internet from Verizon, or you're getting the high-speed fiber internet from Xfinity and stuff like that, you're paying a lot to get that, just to keep some sort of stability. and even then it's not necessarily 100% sure, you know. And the infrastructure in the United States and across the world is just not up to par, except for a few areas. Like, you probably can get that in China, you probably can get that in South Korea, but any place else, it's a crapshoot. You know, I've heard stories, listening to English gamers talk about it on podcasts and things like that, about just how fucking like sussed up their internet can be in certain areas. Same thing in places like Australia and the Pacific, island countries. You know, it's hit or miss at times. And this is from content creators, everything. People who constantly online gaming and stuff like that. So you're expecting to get these types of quality services from Google Stadia via your IP. And again, perhaps on Google Fiber it's perfect, especially since they have controlled test areas where they're doing nothing but their own infrastructure, which is considered one of the, if not the best infrastructures out there. Sure, it's easy to say that this is all possible, but we have to be very, very careful with this, because internet stability and like pricing is just all over the place. It's not customer friendly. And for things like this, like me being on Xfinity, knowing how they throttle speeds and how they like ramp it down when you hit certain upload peaks and all that, how much time am I going to be able to invest in this, and is it worth it? Now, it's $10 a month for the subscription. Not a bad price, but you also can purchase games separately. Like, you're not going to be just using the subscription to play any game that's on there. There are going to be times where you have to actually buy the entire game and pay the $10 fee to play the game. So think about that too, because it's like cost on cost in a way. Now, again, to be fair, we pay $60 a year to play on Xbox Live and on PlayStation Network. So, that's the thing. Of course, if you're using Stadia, the idea is you're removing hardware, like certain hardware, to be able to play on any type of hardware that you choose to at this quality. So you're still paying, but it's I guess it's a negligible thing, as they're touting themselves as the Netflix of gaming. It depends on how many games that are going to be free. Now, they've said some of the stuff that's going to be available from the break. Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be on there. Ghost Recon Breakout is another game that's going to be there. There's going to be a game called Guilt that's being put on there. Division 2 will be on there. All this is supposed to come around or at launch. Also, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Doom Eternal, the entire Tomb Raider trilogy, Final Fantasy 15, Darksiders Genesis, Metro Exodus, and plenty of other games. You will be able to play it on the Pixel 3 devices. Your account will be tied to your Google account, so you would set up your Stadia account with your Google account, and then only one ID per account. So if you only have one Google ID account, you can only have one Stadia username under that account. You have to create another account via another Google ID. Like, I have multiple Google email accounts, so I could probably do it that way if I needed to or wanted to. I don't see a necessity, but some people may, because some people have multiple screen names and things like that on these consoles. So there's that. But yeah, and there's gonna be more stuff. Pretty much the actual launch for the system, I say system even though it's not a system, but for the platform, will be 2020. That's when it'll be available for everybody who's not a Founders Edition member to get it. So if you don't invest the $130, which is the cost of the Founders Edition, for the Chromecast Ultra, the Stadia controller, and a copy of Destiny 2, which, by the way, you will get the Shadowkeep expansion with that. So you're getting all of that together for $130, which isn't a bad price, because considering the controller's $70 on its own, A Chromecast is probably I forget exactly how much, but somewhere between 30 to 50 bucks for the regular Chromecast. I'm not sure how much the Ultra is. And then you're getting a copy of a game that, while Destiny 2 is going free to play, the expansion pass is going to cost you about $40. So you're getting a deal. You definitely are getting a deal. But if you don't invest in that, you have to wait till 2020 to play. So keep that in mind. And I think that's what they're trying to do, to encourage people to jump on it, because that's what they want. They want you to use the Chromecast, use their ecosystem. Have a Chromecast, have the controller, plug the Chromecast into your TV, stream through via your TV, and things like that, which a lot of people would like to do. Of course, they're letting you use it on Pixels and other cell phones, so they want you to be able to do it there. They're pretty much trying to make it a universal platform to make it like, much more appealing. But I think ultimately they hope that you invest in the entire Google ecosystem. So in a weird way, you're getting a streaming platform that's said to not be dedicated to a particular hardware, but they kind of want you to dedicate yourself to their hardware, which I find hilarious. But hey, can't blame them. I mean, that's how you sell push units. You know what I mean? Make money. Do your thing, Google, I guess. But for me, I'm still not big on this. I'm still not really sold on it. It's like, until internet infrastructure gets to the point where I think it'll be very, very feasible for this to be the way that you game. I think it's a nice novelty that people will enjoy, and I would probably still buy a PlayStation 5 or whatever they're gonna call the next PlayStation console. And I'm sure people that I know will buy either that or the next Xbox, which we're going to be introduced to this Sunday, as opposed to this, or invest in a PC as opposed to this, but we'll see. We'll definitely see. Anyway, as always, you guys, feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you think, and I'll holler at you later. This your boy Blak, and I'm out. Deuces.